Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Teacup for One Movie Marathon. Let me get my teacup. Ugh. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees. And welcome to week 2 of the Roald Dahl Movie Marathon. The marathon where we are watching our way through a slew of movies made and inspired by the works of classic children's author Roald Dahl. This is the second week. So last week we started with Matilda. This week we are talking about The Witches. This is the only witch Funko Pop that I had close by. But really, I feel like Angelica Houston flew so that Agatha Harkness could soar. Am I right? I think I'm right. Let's see who we have here in the chat tonight. We have Sabrina, my magical black kitty cat. I love you, Sabrina. Oh, Eliza, my evil magical gray kitty cat. Good evening, humans. I don't like witches. I will be listening while I play with my toys. Good for you, Eliza. Ah, Martha, my mother's here. Hello, hello. Yoda for Mark. Always a pleasure. Aubrey's here, everyone. Good evening. I could certainly use some magic to help me move. Couldn't we all? Couldn't we all? But we have a fantastic show for you this evening. I'm so excited to talk about this movie, to talk about this story, maybe to talk about the remake. We'll find out together. Here we go. So we're going to bring in our first guest for this evening. Teacup for One well, they're all fan favorites, but one of them. Here we go. It's Jeanette.
Hello.
Hello, Jeanette. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. Happy to have you.
Yes,
so
yes.
Tell me, who's
Always
your
happy.
favorite witch?
Who's my favorite witch, like ever in witch lore?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Fictional or non?
Like ever in witch lore, probably Firuza Balk in The Craft.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Firuza Balk in Return to Oz.
Oh, I mean,
think you
really,
are right.
Firuza Balk in general. Can we just count her as a witch? That's fine.
I'm sure we can. Absolutely.
She's probably my favorite witch.
Oh, good choice. Good choice. I'm so excited to have you here and to talk about witches and to talk about the movie. It's going to be a delight. Let's bring in our next guest for this evening. You might remember him from last week, the ever entertaining. It's Alex T-Tie.
Hello.
Hello, Alex. Welcome back. So, Alex, same question. Who's your favorite witch?
I don't know. Elphaba.
Fantastic.
There you go.
It's a reputable answer. It's a reputable
Actually,
answer.
you know what? This, in terms of the witch that I'm most attracted to, the witch from this movie, The Witches, the
Angelica
Grand High
Houston?
Witch. Oh yeah, she's
Okay.
top tier in my books.
In both forms?
No, but sure. I'll deal with one to get the other.
I'd take her more as Morticia, but I see where you're coming from there.
Morticia, is Morticia a witch? Because I feel like she might be.
No, I think she's...
No, but she's also smoking.
Yeah.
I
love Alex's enthusiasm on this subject. It's really great.
Like, do you feel the same way for the stepmother in Ever After?
I haven't seen that.
It's fine. You don't have to.
Good Angelica Houston reference.
Yeah, thank you. She's
like
a
that.
good actress. I enjoy her. And final guest for this evening, Teacup for One fan favorite as well. It's Lisa, everybody.
It's Lisa. Hello,
Hello, Lisa. We missed you. I'm so happy you could join us for Roald Dahl Month for the witches. Oh, so yeah, same question. Who's your favorite witch?
Same answer as Alex, but more passionately Elphaba. Like 100% Elphaba. Love like all the renditions of a green witch.
Yes.
But I mean, come on, if you've seen Wicked, you understand why I love Elphaba so much. So yeah.
I'm always so interested to see who's Team Elphaba versus who's Team Glinda. Because people like
Linda.
People always she changes it in Solidarity with Dr. Dillamon. Come on, Alex. Did you even read the book?
No.
Okay. But no, I think everybody has one that is their favorite. Like you're either an Elphaba or Glinda, just like you're either a Cosette or an Eponine. Even though everyone thinks that they're Eponine when really they're someone else's Cosette. I saw that in a Facebook status once and it's stuck with me.
100%. When I was a kid, I always thought Maleficent was a witch just because she always had like a cauldron and like the bird.
She's a fairy.
She's a fairy.
I know, right?
Just FYI, if anyone out there is listening and they're like, oh, I love Maleficent as a witch, not a witch.
Not a witch.
Not a witch.
Hashtag not a witch. Which actually was a hashtag that trended because of the witches. remake.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll discuss that. There's so much to dive into with this movie, which it didn't click with me how much there is to discuss with this film until I was watching it. Like, I just programmed it because it's a significant Roald Dahl movie, but then I was watching it thinking, wow, there's a lot to dive into here. There's a lot to unpack. Was this anyone's first time watching it? What?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is
Okay,
great.
then.
Wow.
Wow, so this didn't scar anyone in their childhood?
I guess
No.
not.
Only in our adulthood.
This didn't make anyone scared of oil paintings?
It did
like it did for
remind me of something that did scar me in my childhood, and I'll get to that later.
Ooh, brilliant. All right, well, I can't wait to
mean,
hear.
Yeah. It didn't scar me as a kid, but it might have scarred me as an adult.
I mean, I think, I guess I'll start with the question I always ask because I'm the only one who can answer it today. Relevance to my childhood. I saw it a few times as a kid because one of my really good friends growing up enjoyed it thoroughly. But this is also one of those kids who watched Stephen King's It at the age of 6 or 7. So he liked scary things. And I think this was a movie that was middle ground enough for us to both watch. And I think it freaks me out more as an adult than it ever did as a kid because I rewatched it for the first time in 2020 as an adult. And I was viscerally unsettled by it. Yeah, the effects, just the human mouse hybrid puppets for when they're transforming, everything. It unsettled me so very much. And yeah, I also distinctly remember as a kid, the thing that disturbed me most about witches as a concept that the movie taught me was the purple eyes. I don't even want to say disturbed, but fascinated me. And out of all the things that they choose to use as witch physical differentiations, I think purple eyes is the most intriguing because for the most part, everybody has eyes and eye color can vary, but purple is something I don't think you ever really see in real life. So just something so subtle like that, I thought was so brilliant. And then the other physical differentiations for the witches, I want to talk about that. I will talk about that, but it needs its own discussion, which we'll do later. But yeah. So first impressions, let's start with Lisa. What did you think?
So I watched it with my partner last night. Both of us had not seen it. And I think we walked away loving it.
Nice.
I truly loved it. I loved the puppetry so much. I think it still holds up today. I know we're such CGI folks now when it comes to animation and storytelling, but I loved the little mice, the little puppets. It was so cute and adorable. And although, there was a lot of the writing that felt clunky and just the overall storytelling, I think it was still a well done movie. I think the ending of the movie, I split it up in thirds. So the 2/3 half is half the thirds are it's amazing. The first third, not my favorite, but it's a good setup and I'll take it if I get those cute little mice. And yeah, Angelica Houston can do no wrong. I'll take her crappy German accent. It was not a good accent. I don't.
Oh no!
Someone convinced me otherwise, but it wasn't good. I still like it coming from Angelica Houston.
Oh, for sure. And I think it's. I mean, I think I'm reading too much into it. I just imagine it's her own special witch accent that came from generations and centuries of evolving her speech. But I'm overthinking it. I'm aware of that. But yeah, I think that's so interesting because I personally, my favorite part is the first third because again, the terrifying oil painting. And I think the grandma I find in this film so engaged, the original, so engaging as a character because I think there's so much subtext and so much backstory that's just implied about her as a witch hunter and just seeing her history, especially as a kid. It's basically the oil painting. I love and am terrified by the concept of a kid being trapped in an oil painting until she dies.
The oil painting device is terrifying, horrific to me. And I'm glad it wasn't such a big thing for the rest of the movie because that could be its own movie.
Oh, for sure.
Trapped into an oil painting. But it is an interesting it's an interesting device to get you freaked out by these witches. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Alex, what did you think?
Um, I thought the movie did a number of really interesting, relatively unique things. I thought like for a children's film, uh, the transformation, specifically Bruno's transformation, which I believe was the most like it's the one transformation that you kind of get every phase. They kind of show you all the phases of him going from human to mouse, and I wrote down graphic in my movie notes. But it wasn't gory. But it was just, the level of there was something about the way the practical, prosthetics and makeup and everything, and the effects and the shaking, the violent shaking, all of that was, were I not so, jaded and desensitized, to modern existence, I would have been, taken aback, I feel, by that specific sequence. But yeah, no, I thought the movie did a number of cool things in that regard, and there were a number of just hilarious and dark elements. The witches chasing the boy in broad daylight out on the grassy field, like the contrast of this beautiful like vista with these like, and again, women witches were not like terrifying looking, but just the idea of being this like 10-year-old boy being chased by what to be these evil people who want to kill you. Like so many elements of this movie I thought were very like they struck me. They stood out to me as not typical, especially in a children's film. Having said all that, I did think that I think, Lisa, you touched on this with like the narrative and the writing. I did find that it was convoluted, is the word I would use. I found the whole premise of both the way they built up the world, and then finding out the witches, the Grand High Witch's plan to convert all the children into mice with her formula, when she just shoots like death beams from her fingers or whatever, like Death Star beams, like that's the witch's power. Anyway, I found that to be kind of like it was convoluted. This was overly complicated. I feel like there was an easier, and again, especially for children's to engage children, I feel like if I would have watched the movie as a kid, it would have flown over my head what like the intricacies of Formula 86 and all that stuff. But so I'm glad I watched it. I think there's a lot of cool stuff that the movie does, but I don't personally agree that the movie is collectively a good film. I would say that it's a mash of a number of individually cool, intriguing, and well executed in isolation parts, but they coming together as a whole, they do not complement each other in my view. Beyond now, I enjoyed the film and I'd watch it again, but I'd watch it to appreciate all those individual things as opposed to, interpreting it as this cohesive whole.
Well said. No, I do think the story's it's so simplistic in some ways, and I realize on this rewatch it's basically just about this entrepreneur who's doing a trade show for her employees, and then this kid ruins it. She's like, look at this cool thing that I invented, and it's going to make progress for our work, and then he ruins it, and then like he takes down her empire. I don't know. That's my hot take. So there we go. Oh, Jeanette. Hooray. What was I going to say? I had one more thing I wanted to add. No, it's gone now. Oh, no, I kind of remember now. I do think, because I watched the remake as well, out of curiosity, back to back with watching the original. And it's just so clear to me how it reaffirms my distaste for CGI, because I think this movie holds up so much better in terms of the visual storytelling and in terms of the effects when it is largely just practical effects, as opposed to the remake, which like I think we can all, if we haven't seen it, get an idea of what it would be like now, because it just looks like live action mixed up with a Pixar movie, because the mice are basically just cartoons, which I think is cute in its own way, but if they're going that route, I would prefer it just be a full out cartoon, because like seeing the mouse actually do stuff in this was so much more magical to like see him running and scurrying, and it was so good. And also just the practical effects for the witches, like in the mouse transformation scene in the remake, there's flying involved and everything, but I think it's so much more unsettling to just have the physical action of a bunch of grown women pinning down a kid and force feeding him the potion. And I'm like, this is real, this is happening, and you don't have that security blanket of it's CGI, it's fake. So I think this movie is just a testament to the old ways are the better ways. So there we go.
I just want to throw out this question.
No, she was trying to be a girl boss, but the boy was harshing her vibe. Yes.
So
where'd Jeanette go?
I think she's having internet problems.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. But I hope we get a chance to discuss the remake just briefly.
Sure. Did you watch it too?
I did. I like try to binge it today, and just to see the difference. And
for sure.
There are things that, Alex, you've mentioned that this 1990s version does not so great, but the remake does really well in terms of like simplifying the story. Mm-hmm. And we can talk more about that, but it's just such an interest. Like I'm not a fan of remakes, but I think this was a very interesting movie for there to be a remake of, and I think it's a really good case study.
Oh, yeah. Fully agree. Like, I'm so glad you watched the remake, because I have so many thoughts on comparing and contrasting. Jeanette, can you hear us? Can you see us?
Hey,
hello?
Sorry.
Hello.
Definitely.
All right. I think we're good. So Jeanette, tell us your first impressions of The Witches.
I think I can hear you.
Can you?
Sorry. So it was. Can y'all hear me?
We're a little bit out of sync, but we'll let you speak.
No!
Oh no! I was just kidding.
Let's go to Vincent. Vincent says, I like this movie. It got considerably better when they fired the child actors and brought in the Jimison puppets.
Look,
agreed.
You know, I actually agree.
Look, listen. Those child actors were not Peter Pan 2003 bad, okay? But they also weren't the best child actors.
They weren't Willy Wonka level good.
No. But they were great voice actors.
I found that was the case in both of them.
Yeah,
actually.
were they? But do we know for sure that they were still the voice actors when they became mice?
I think so.
Okay, because they even sounded so much more competent when they were mice than when they were, on screen as themselves.
Look this up, because it seemed like they were.
Yeah,
it sounded like them vocally.
They became considerably better actors when they were just voice actors.
Yeah.
I think maybe the kids might have felt more comfortable in the studio because you're directed in a different way sometimes.
For sure.
So if that is the case, then I hope they have all had great voice acting careers.
Well, I don't think the original 1990s kid went on to do anything else really. And remake kid, I'm not sure. I hope so. He has a good future, a good performance. But I guess while we wait for Jeanette, we've kind of touched on it. So remake versus new movie. Just overall thoughts there. I do want to talk about the choice to change the ending, but I want that to be a separate conversation.
No spoilers.
Yeah,
no, it's too late.
Not yet.
Not yet. Jeanette. Oh wait, hold on. Jeanette's here. Jeanette?
Can you hear us?
I'm going to try again.
Okay.
Sorry.
Welcome back. There we go. All right. Thumbs up if you can hear us.
Hey, I'm back.
She's not giving the thumbs up.
It might be delayed again.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, there it is. Hold on. Let's see if she does.
Let's see if she does a thumbs up. Oh.
No. I see the spinning circle. Jeanette? All right. let's talk about the remake. So, since all three of us have seen the remake, just I guess opening thoughts. How did we?
Well, I
feel
have
about
not seen the remake.
I thought you rented it.
No, so I found it. I just didn't pick it up, and
Oh.
and I hadn't watched it. I do want to watch it because I was so affected by this first film, but I haven't seen it. So
Okay, so then Lisa, opening thoughts on the remake.
I liked the first third of it better than the rest of the film. I think the writing and the dialogue was so much more clean and clear that was missed in the 90s. And I really liked Octavia Spencer. Like, she is a powerhouse and she really held the narrative. Like, her being the grandmother really anchored what the story was and like her experience. Not to like throw shade at the other grandmother in the 90s, but I think she just really solidified the family, the story of the witches in a more clear way. And yeah, I think that would be my only like happiness with it. Everything else, I'm like, no, I still like Jim Henson's version better, and I like the nuance that the 90s version had over the remake. But yeah, Octavia Spencer was amazing.
I know that I'm the problem here. I generally don't care for Octavia Spencer and things. Like, I don't see what the rest of the world sees. I know. And there are some things where I'm like, I know that I'm just not getting it because everyone else in the world can't be wrong. But this is the first movie that I've really liked her in for the most part. Like, I loved her in the first third and the last third. In the middle, she lost me a little bit, but no, I loved what she brought to it. I think it was great. I feel like this movie I don't want to say wasted, but I feel like this movie missed out on opportunities that it seemed like it wanted to explore, but didn't. Like, I think it's such a strong, cool choice to set it in Alabama in the 60s when they did, and to have it be centered on an African-American family. And then they even have the point when Octavia Spencer says witches only like prey on kids that they don't think anyone will notice go missing. Like, they're not going to get us in a hotel full of rich white people. I'm like, this is interesting. But then they don't, like, it just goes away after she says that. Like, the first kid that they pry on is a rich white British kid. And then that conversation never comes back. I'm like, you could have had such a fascinating exploration of the time period paired with what this narrative is. Even with the character of Bruno, I think there was a wasted opportunity there because, again, he's a rich white British kid who's at a hotel for rich people. And then right away, he's just like, and also I loved Bruno, the actor, and I love the character as well. But I think there was a character opportunity there for him to go through some kind of journey where he's like learning like against racism and class structure that presumably he would have been raised in with the family he was raised in, and then seeing that his family turns him away when they discover that he's a mouse. But like, that's a story I would have loved to see his friendship with unnamed narrator kid, because he doesn't have a name in this movie, grow, as opposed to them just being friends right at the beginning instead of that relationship growing when they become mice. Like, there are just so many missed opportunities, I feel, that they planted the seeds for that didn't go as far as it could have.
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of like changing some significant story narrative parts, like setting it in Alabama instead of Europe. I think maybe it's like I think of it as like when I adapt stories into a different form, or making a remake, like when I'm rewriting a short story perhaps, like I'm always concerned about straying too far from the original, and maybe like that is just something that the writers just were like, that's a lot, this is like, that would add like another half hour to the movie, which wouldn't be a problem. It's not a long remake movie, but I do wonder if it's that, like, okay, how far are we going to stray from the original story? But I totally agree with you. There was a lot of missed opportunities because when I saw that it was set in Alabama, I was like, this opens up to like how close they are to voodoo magic. Are they going to explore that?
That was another thing I think they missed out on, about how she's a voodoo practitioner, but then that really goes nowhere aside from, oh, let me see if I can reverse engineer the spell. I can't.
Yeah, or like we're like trying to like having like Octavia Spencer's character kind of be like, am I also a witch? Do I have that type of ability or even hatred towards kids? Clearly she doesn't, but like, I don't know, it would have been an interesting addition to the story to explore, but maybe that's a whole other movie altogether, or a whole other story altogether. Yeah.
Out of curiosity, did you what were your thoughts on the remakes catering to like children versus adults? Because the original film, in my opinion, in my view, is very clearly a children's film. Did you feel similarly about the remake, or did you? Yeah, what were your thoughts?
I think the remake, it feels more sanitized in some ways and more acceptable for a kid audience now, because Anne Hathaway as the Grand High Witch is a lot campier, I feel. And she's like, she is still kind of scary, but it's mostly the CGI that's scary. When her mouth opens, I'm like, this is terrifying, but it's not really Anne who's scaring me right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's because in the 80s they just didn't care about scaring kids. So now it's just so cartoony. Yeah. What'd you think?
I feel like I've mentioned this before in another movie review, where I do think like movies cater to kids in different ways throughout the generations. Mm-hmm. And so I think it caters to kids, like a child audience, a young audience, in a different way. And that's fine. But like, as a person who grew up in the 90s, like that's the type of like nostalgic movie that like I really admire, even though I've never seen it before. Like I compare that to obviously like Labyrinth, or just other like Jim Henson cool movies. But like I would probably, like if I had a kid right now, I would probably show them this, like the 2020 version of The Witches first, because it isn't that scary.
Oh, sorry, I smiled because Jeanette arrived.
Yay! Success! Great success!
We did it! Oh, sorry to interrupt you, Lisa.
No worries.
I had to turn it off. I had to blow in it, and then I had to put it back on.
The old school method.
So, what did we dig into? Did we dig into how horrifying she is? What did I miss?
We've pretty much been doing remake versus original just in the intro.
Oh, well, I didn't get a chance to watch it, so that was good.
It takes place in New Orleans.
No, see, I love when they do witch stories in New Orleans, because I do love our vampire culture, but we have lots of good witch culture too.
But they don't really embrace the New Orleans culture at all, which is...
Well, shows as much, because I didn't know that it was based in New Orleans, so... Can I say about my first time watching it? Since this is my first time. So the thing that horrified me, and I don't know if they worked on it or not, but I don't know if y'all have seen the Twilight Zone movie that came out in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
So there's a rabbit in that, and the makeup and the puppetry for the mouse hybrid people and the mouse at the end that is Angelica Houston looked just like that rabbit. And that thing scared the willies out of me when I was a kid. So that horrified me. Everything else I thought was a little like, very like, I don't know. The convention of witches was giving me like Rocky Horror vibes, especially when Angelica Houston got up there and like threw the cape off. And I was like, oh,
and
wow.
I'm getting... And they all applauded. So
I got serious Frankenfurter vibes. So I was like, it was really giving me all these things from my childhood that was like a little warm blanket, because it all felt very... And to Lisa's point, the puppetry of the mice, because like it was Henson, right? So I was just like, you could kind of see the Christmas mice from Christmas Carol in those mice a little bit. Just a little. They were a little less cartoony, but that was what I was seeing there. And it was good. It was a good movie. Like, it's fun. And I thought it was, the thing I took away was that it was like a gathering of the tales we used to scare children, kind of all mooshed together. a whole bunch of different things. So I always like when it's like a mixture. And I've said this on this show before. I like when you lay down some rules and like things
Yes.
to look for and identify in a world, and then like you have to follow that. Those are the rules. That's
Purple
how
eyes.
it goes. Yeah. So I thought that was cool.
Love that. So let's jump into the comments. Philip says, I love The Witches, love the book in the original movie. I did not enjoy the remake. Original cast nailed it. Actors in the new one were good, but they were let down by a bad script and a bad design. Feel like more or less I agree. In terms of wardrobe, in the original, Bruno was dressed like he was there to paint the set.
He literally looked like a plumber. Like it was
Yeah.
so
And he's supposed to be rich.
It was so funny. I could not get over his gray overall.
Yeah, I thought he was in like a onesie, like a Mario onesie at first, and then they got closer to him. I'm like, no, he has slacks on, but still.
But like there was like a little bit of like wording on his breast pocket, and I was like, this looks like a trades worker uniform.
I think we're supposed to not feel for this kid very much.
I didn't. I don't care for original Bruno, although I love remake Bruno. He's so sweet. He's so cute. Yeah, I love remake Bruno.
I thought this kid was like an unlikable Bruce Bogtrotter, like from Matilda.
I was thinking he was like a slightly more likable Augustus Gloop.
Yeah, somewhere between those two is pretty much where we land with this guy.
I appreciate a good spoiled rich kid who like just stuffs their face and like thinks they own the world. Give me that trope any day. It's cute. He grows. It's fine.
Yeah. He doesn't want the cucumber sandwiches made with margarine.
He bloody hates margarine.
So glad you brought that up, because I have never felt someone more deeply than when he said that in this movie. I was like, good for you, kid. Have a little taste. Freaking margarine. Get out of here.
Oh, yeah. Angelica Houston was so iconic. The movie didn't need a remake when they didn't improve on it in any way. Design of the witches in the remake is awful, and they added unnecessary deformities.
Can I say something? I think Anne Hathaway is best when she's playing an original character.
Yeah.
Or someone that existed in real life, because I find when she plays fictional characters, I don't care for them very much. She was the worst Catwoman. I can't, she was a bad Catwoman, and I haven't seen this remake, but it sounds like it didn't come out well. So.
I mean, I liked her choices a little bit, but I do agree it does not stand against Angelica Houston.
No.
It's not like I feel like she's trying to be Angelica Houston instead of trying to make it her own. And that's a trap a lot of actors and remakes end in. But yeah, the design of the witches in the remake, it's a little wild.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I want to discuss. Yeah, let's talk about how witches are depicted either in the remake or in the original, because there are some similarities, but I do feel like it's villainizing physical differences, especially more so in the remake. And that actually started the whole hashtag not a witch because of the limb differences, because what they opted to do with their hands, just making them, they only had like 2 fingers essentially. And like there are people who actually do have that physical difference. And so it started this whole thing. And that's the one thing that actually wasn't even in the books. They just created that as a creative choice. For this one, I feel like the physicalities of the witches that the book gave us already had their own problems. So maybe this is even why I like the Purple Eyes so much. The Purple Eyes have an element of fantasy to them. Mm-hmm. And this, I feel like you're making people who are bald out to be scary. You're making people, I don't know. But what do we feel?
I mean, I do think that the iconic design of a witch is problematic, and like a lot of people talk about how it can be depicted as anti-Semitic because of the hooked noses and the warts, and like the curly wild hair. In the remake, I thought it would have been like such an interesting choice to make them like not like deformed and like go in a different route to be like, you can look beautiful and still be an evil witch, but I do like the original because it is just so extravagantly like not human. Like
Yeah.
when Angelica Houston takes off
Takes off her face.
literally, it's like it looks like an alien.
It looks like the creatures from the freaking what is it? The Scrixies from the Dark Crystal. It looks like down that same path of design. I thought it was really the sculpt on her character is gorgeous to me. Like as far as really loving like special effects, makeup, and prosthetics and things, especially for the time, and to be able to like get that to look like it's got any emotion whatsoever, because that could end up being a very static face. I thought that whole scene was really compelling. Some of the other it's interesting where all the special effects lied, and then like certain things, like we just got green puffy smoke like at the end of things. It was like this amazing like visual thing, and then there'd just be green puffy smoke that you could like almost see where it was coming out of. It was like stuff like that. But yeah, I thought the thing I liked about the witch design, and I know this is all mostly in the book, right? The original movie, this is all described in the book.
Yeah.
So what I like about it is when you're little and like there's weird stuff about your grandparents, like your grandmother may wear a wig and she may smell funny and she may like, scratch her head like this and like because of the weight. I thought it was cool because to me it was like playing into those oddities that you find strange and kind of frightening about old people when you're little. And so that was where my mind went with it. And the same thing with like, when they pull their face off in the evening, like taking their makeup off and like when they come out, I don't know if you ever saw that Rugrats episode where like Tommy's mom comes out and she's got like the face mask on and her hair's different and everything. And they're like, ah, and I'm like, to me, that's like a classic, you see them in the middle of the night with the face mask and all that. And it's all very frightening. So I thought it really played again into these things that scare children.
Well said. Alex, what are your thoughts?
On the witch's design, I agree that the grand high witch's prosthetic and her whole face with like the hairs coming off of it and all that, like all those details was very neat. And the I did note when we first see the complete face after she comes out or whatever in the conference room. How that prosthetic blended with like the parts that were actually like her lips and her eyes and stuff. Like I noted that was also like a really effective blend where it combined those static prosthetics with the emotive, expressive parts of her face. But yeah, otherwise, there was something interesting. I don't know if any of you caught this, and if you have an opinion on it, but the end of the film with the last witch standing, who I guess is kind of a good witch. There's a cut, a shot where it just like highlights. She looks down at her hand, and she like wiggles her fingers. And I didn't know how to. I didn't understand the purpose of that shot. What my mind went to was. I remember a lot of other shots in the movie of the witch's hands being like, even when they were in human form, having like ugly hands.
Yeah, that's why they have to wear gloves. Okay,
so that's probably what it was then. It's just I mean, maybe, but like I just didn't figure.
Philip has an answer for you. When she chooses good magic, the ugly attributes go away.
Yeah.
And then she has real hair, pretty hands, and presumably nice toes.
Is there supposed to be a transformation sequence as she's converting the kid back into a kid?
Like I think that's what her looking at the hand mostly is, because I mean, there's no way for us
I just
to know
didn't pick up on any change. I thought she already looked like the way she did. Like I thought she looked relatively nice, even before she did the good magic. But
on the subject of hands, maybe y'all can answer this. Did they ever tell us exactly what happened to the grandmother's finger, or is that just some weird thing that we're supposed to just like? And they chopped her finger off at some point in history. Yeah. Like, I don't know. That was such a weird. That was such a weird thing. They put it in there, and I'm sitting there the whole movie waiting for like this flashback scene of how this finger came off, and they never, that I noticed, got back to it.
No, they don't. I think it's implied that she like I said, I think the original implies that she had a whole history as a witch hunter that we don't
See,
get
I don't know if I buy that.
details on. I don't even know why that's in my brain. Maybe it's in the book.
Maybe
At
that's
some
in the
point, they
book.
mentioned
I
that
Yeah.
don't
she's a
know
witch
anything in the
hunter.
movie that implies
But there's that other line as well where Angelica Houston, which recognizes her, and she's like, "Oh, it's an old adversary, a very old adversary."
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
they've
I
encountered
didn't know
each other
she was
before.
a kid that like got away.
That
Um,
whole story at the beginning about her friend being trapped in the oil painting was very unclear about whether she was like there to witness this
uh-huh.
or this is just like hearsay. Like she just heard about her friend being kidnapped by a witch.
Yeah.
She
And so-
does say that she saw the painting, though.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the kid asks her if you've seen like
Yeah.
Claire. What is the girl's name? I
Clara.
think. Or
I,
Claire.
I
Yeah.
also feel like they handled the death of those parents awfully lightly.
Oh my god. They
Oh
don't
my
even
God.
The kid's just like walking around the house. She's like, "Come here, let's have a good
Come
cry
cuddle."
about it."
like the grandmother narrating how like, oh, one day like the parents and then ... and then she just continues the story was
I
so
don't even know
bad.
what she was the mother of. I don't know if she was
Yeah.
the father or the mother's mother.
I think that's
Wait,
one thing
no,
the remake
she's-
I think did better. The remake handled the parents' death and like the
Uh-huh.
trauma
So
in the
much better.
morning so much better because, yeah, like you actually see nameless child being depressed and her trying to cheer him up, and then it's this whole like, this is the scene that won me over on Octavia Spencer when she's giving him a speech about how you like bad things are going to happen in your life and you just had to learn this earlier than most people, and just like, oh, this is so beautiful, like you're giving attention to the loss that this child has felt, which will later inform his choices and how he reacts to being a mouse.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I think she was the father's mother because he was in that beginning
Yeah.
scene. He was the one with the British accent, and the mom clearly
Oh.
had an American accent when she said goodnight.
Yeah,
her
I
party
think he
dress?
also says mom.
He says
I
mom,
think he
yeah.
calls her
Oh,
mom.
okay.
I think there's a line where he's
Oh,
like,
yeah,
when he walks
okay.
into the bedroom or
I
something,
was
he's
like,
like,
she's Norwegian, he's British. This woman might be American, the kid's American. I was very confused. I was like,
Yeah,
what?
it was.
I don't know.
That's where it got like. That's why I say the original is a little clunky in areas because
I
like
was gonna say that's one of my like overarching things with this movie. While it's a great kids movie and it's very fun and it's great, some of it's a little disjointed. It feels like, and here's a scene, and then here's a scene, and then like maybe they went back and filmed some grandma stuff to kind of try to tie it all together. And again, I haven't read the book of this one, so I'm not sure if it does that in the book. I doubt it. I'm sure it's a lot more fluid in the book than a lot of some of the scene connection here was a little like the scene with the cat and the mitten was kind of weird. I'm like, and then she sees her and it's cool. And everybody just, I'm like, what? That's weird. She knows
Yeah.
she turned this kid into a mouse, and this woman's sitting here playing with a cat with a mitten. Like I'm just like, you could put two and two together.
Oh no, and like we know that she knows who the grandma is too. Like
Yeah.
she saw her passed out in the bed. There's
Yeah.
the whole thing. But I feel like that's just I don't want to say trope. A thing that I find with a lot of movies that came out in this era was that in the 80s, kids' movies seemed to be kind of shoddily cut and spliced together.
Yeah.
Like pacing is
Agreed.
usually really off. I call them like library VHS movies. They
Yeah.
just feel
yeah.
yeah. There's
Like
there's no
Milo
flow.
and Otis.
Yeah.
Milo and Otis is just it's just a bunch of scenes of cats and dogs, right?
Yoda has clarified she lost her finger in a fight with a witch in the book. And so, yes, she was a witch hunter. Go
Witch
me.
Hunter. Okay.
See, that's not so clear in the original.
No, they don't really.
yeah, the movie doesn't
Like-
do much to give you that idea.
It doesn't like go out of its way to make sure that you know that piece.
It doesn't beat you on the head with that fact.
Yeah, Octavia Spencer is very clearly like coming from a witch hunting past, which I was like, oh, that's so nice. That like, that's why she's telling her grandson the story of the witches.
Yeah.
It's like at the beginning when the grandmother is talking, and the original is like, why are you scaring your poor grandson?
Well, that was where I started to get that idea that this was supposed to be like kind of a mooshing together of tales that keep kids in line and whatever, and like that was where I got that idea, and I thought that's kind of what it was supposed to be for a while, or at least Roald Dahl's take on that,
Yeah.
But yeah, her thing at the exposition at the beginning, while I love them setting up the world, it was a little like okay. I thought she was going to tell us her background, and that was where we were going with that. And then
Yeah.
she never really digs into her background. I'm like, oh, okay.
Like, I want a prequel just about her and
Yeah.
her witch hunts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I thought that she was a witch at the beginning.
Me too.
I was
kept
just waiting for her to pull off her face and eat the kid or something.
I know. I
Interesting.
love a good scary granny story, right?
my
I think that's like, that's
Yeah.
pretty entertaining because, like, I have 3 things that affect me in movies, especially like horror movies or whatever. Like, if you hurt animals, children, or the elderly. So, like, if like an evil kid or an evil old person is like very striking to me and very scary. So I was like, ooh, this is gonna be great. She's just gonna be like evil granny. No.
But no.
There were a
so-
bunch of evil grannies though.
There were. One thing that I want to address or discuss is the matter of the ending, because famously Roald Dahl hated this ending because they changed the ending of his book. Because in the original, he stays a mouse and he's
Good.
content to be a mouse. And they have the same discussion that they have in the remake where he's talking to his grandmother saying, so how long am I going to live? Because I'm a mouse now. She's like, well, you're also still kind of a human. So you'll probably live a bit longer than the average mouse, maybe 9 years. And then he says, oh, well, we'll die at the same time. That's fantastic. And it's just so sad. And it just makes you so aware
It's
of
bittersweet.
mortality.
I
Oh,
found
it's
that
true.
line so poignant and like existential when and because in the original they don't talk about that at any length. It's
No.
just a throwaway line. He just asks,
Yeah.
"How long do mice live?" And she changes the subject. I don't think
They
talked about that
start
in the-
down that dark path and then they kind of just are like,
Yeah.
nah.
Yeah.
I
But
don't
it was
think
so for a kids movie. It's such a like poignant like perspective. Like this kid, this 10-year-old kid or whatever, is like contemplating the fact that like he knows that mice don't live that long,
Yeah.
and it's only going to be a matter of like a couple years. But he's so like fine with it. He's just like, hey, grandma, how long do mice live? Not that long, eh?
Yeah.
The grandmother's approach to all of it is very, this is another case of like the teachers we've talked about in some movies. This grandmother, questionable decisions on the part of the child's caretaker. I
Yes.
don't know that these are okay decisions.
They handle that ending so much better in the remake. And like they have that discussion of like, how long am I gonna live, grandma? And like it's a beautiful moment of like talking about mortality.
Yes.
And it just felt like a false ending in the original. It felt like, okay, we're ending, like he's in his little house and they say goodnight, and like the grandma's all weepy eyed because like her grandson's a mouse. But then
Mouse in the
like
house.
all of a sudden
Glinda the Good Witch shows up.
Yeah,
The weird
maniacally
80s witch.
cackling
The weird 80s in a convertible witch shows
Yeah,
up. And
yeah.
I'm like,
with her wild
"What?"
eyes and wild cackle. You know?
Oh, also, when did the finger magic? Did they do that any other time in the movie? That's
Yeah,
one of
when
the other things.
Angelica
Now that-
Houston finger magics that one
She
witch.
blasts her death beam from her
Oh,
finger.
yeah.
I thought it was her eyes.
Oh, is it
No,
her
you're
eyes?
right.
I
No,
thought
it was her. It was her
It's her.
finger.
It is her finger. She
It's
just
her
has
finger.
crazy eyes at the same
Oh,
time.
I think
also-
Anne
that was
Hathaway might be
another-
from the eyes.
Yeah, that was
Either
another
way.
thing that made me think the grandmother was potentially a witch. I forgot that. At the end, I was like, "Oh, are we going to get like a scene between her because her finger was cut off?" So I'm like, "Oh, she had the zappy powers."
Yeah.
You know,
Imagine if that was all it took to take a witch's magic, just cut off the
cut off
zappy
their
finger.
index finger.
Yeah, well, in the for the 1990 movie, it was one of those cases where they shot both endings, and there we
That's
go.
the
It is
remake.
both.
It's both. Yes,
That's
eyes
the
and finger.
remake. I don't know about the original.
In
Haven't
the
found
original, I
it.
think it was just her finger
Yeah,
in
it
the
was just her
original one.
finger. But yeah, so they shot both endings.
Oh, no.
And then they picked the happy ending.
It was
It's her eyes into her
every-
finger.
Oh,
See, it's
It's her
both.
eyes into her
Okay.
finger. It's both.
huh.
You need both.
You need both.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
will say that I'm okay with the false ending and then whatever you want to make it so happy in the original. My problem was that transformation of the mouse into the boy, and like it was not comfy for me because you can clearly see his crotch, and I'm not sure if he was
Yes.
wearing underwear.
He does this
But I was like,
flying
I
thing.
Don't know
over
what I
the
just saw.
Yeah, there's
Definitely
this,
is wearing underwear
flying
after
scene
the
over
transformation.
the scene. Yeah, but
Yeah, in that
But like
transformation,
during the scene, I'm
it's
like, are you
dubious.
wearing really droopy drawers and like?
no, he was like Ariel nude.
Oh my
Like Little
God, I'm like,
Mermaid nude in
did
that
I-
scene where it's like there's a bunch of swooshy, but it's
Yeah,
still very much a nude person.
I
You're like,
don't.
this is not good.
I feel so bad for that child actor.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, that was so awkward. That was so awkward.
Although I
19
personally, I don't know, I like Luke because, well, minus like awkwardly how it was filmed. I like the idea of him turning into a human at the end. Although I
Yeah.
guess I can appreciate both. I think the main reason that I like it is less so that he becomes a human and more so that we get Good Witch redemption. Because the thing that I found a little unsettling about the remake is that it kind of switches things too far in the other direction where they're like grooming and training a new generation of kids to go out and mindlessly murder witches. They're like, here's your potion, here are the addresses, go kill them. And it's like, how do you know that every person on that list is necessarily evil? Like, for the most part, it's just putting those witch hunters now in the same position as the witches, where they're hating on a group of people and coming up with a plan to destroy them and exterminate them. And
Yeah.
I feel like the remake, by even though they were just going for a happy ending, I do think it's a nice, it humanizes it a little bit to show that there is a witch who redeemed herself,
Yeah.
and like not all the people who are born as witches are evil.
Yeah. Although it doesn't fully hit right because you don't know that witch. You know that like she was her secretary or like assistant, but like you don't get her story and
Yeah,
you don't
there's no
really get.
context.
So there is
You
no
don't really care about her by the end, and
so
then
I'm
you're
just
like,
okay.
where did you
I'm totally
come
on board
from?
with that point.
Yeah. And like although I do agree with you, Matt, on like how in the remake it's like, oh, you're just turning kids into the villains that we got rid of in the earlier part of the movie. But I do see it as like a metaphor of like trying to get rid of evil in a way, although it is very literal. Like you are
Yeah.
you are militarizing children to go
Yeah.
kill presumably just old women,
Yeah.
which is wild to me.
Yeah.
But I like to see it as a metaphor instead of it
Oh.
being literal.
Oh, for sure. No, I definitely think there is the metaphor element. It reminds me of that, of like Act 2, Into the
Yeah.
Woods, how they're all just so into killing the giant. But
Mhm.
then they
Yeah.
say, like, isn't the giant also a person? Aren't we supposed to show forgiveness? And you're like, don't forget that this giant is somebody whose husband was murdered,
Yeah.
and now she's coming for revenge. And it's like, just because we're empathizing with people on one side of the story doesn't mean that their actions are necessarily morally sound, because they are still very gleefully committing murder.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
this brings up the point though of the lore of the witches. And what I mean is that the original movie, as far as I'm concerned, all it tells us about the witches is that they're that they're evil and that they want to kill children, as though if you are born a witch, let's say, or however you become a witch, whether you're born a witch or not, once you are a witch, you are evil. You want to kill children, and so we don't know that, like, there's nothing else to indicate, okay, like, are there such things generally as good witches? What does that mean? The only thing we have to that effect is the ending. But the ending, all we know is that, like Lisa said, this witch who was the secretary to the Grand High Witch, the most evil, repulsive being in the world or whatever, now decided to convert this boy from a mouse back to a human. Now, that says nothing to how many kids did that witch previously squish or kill or viciously murder, and turning a kid from a mouse back to a human doesn't make up for killing one, let alone hundreds of past children. So I don't know. I'd say it's quite arguable. Now the book may get more into it, but from the movie's
Oh,
perspective,
I don't think the book gets into it at all. I think
Yeah.
the book is just very cut and dry. Witches are evil, kill them all.
yeah, and I think from that perspective, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with militarizing children to do that.
Go kill witches. Philip's comment about how like the secretary witch clearly like sees that like she's torn about like going back to the room and like not enjoying the work there. Like, yes, that actress, great. The way that she was directed, amazing. But
Doesn't
like,
she say she's gonna quit at that point?
yeah, she does. She does say she's gonna quit. But like, to make it, if you're going to make the ending what it is, why
We
don't you
needed to care more about her in general,
Yeah, we
like
need to
at all.
just needs like a few more lines to like
Yeah.
try to like go up against the Grand Witch instead of just coming out of literally thin air to the grandmother's house. Like,
Yeah.
we just need a little bit more of like a tether. That's all.
Oh, for sure. No, and I think it's so like it plays very Deus Ex Machina-y, where
Yeah.
it's just at the
Oh,
end, it's just
absolutely.
like here it is. And I do think, like knowing now that they shot the book ending, it's so evident to me that that's what the movie was meant to be. But because of audience appeasal, they had to tack on the happy ending.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Why do the witches hate children so much? Like, is that
'Cause
never
they smell like dog poo poo.
okay?
Yeah.
All right. Is that literally the only reason?
Yeah, I think it's like a biological thing. They're obviously quite biologically different, right? Like
Yes,
they're
very.
actually physically different. So like
They smell like dog poop. Okay.
they
Yeah,
smell like,
I think Roald Dahl's witches, like the species that he's created, I think they're just born and bred with the natural instinct, like the predatory instinct to wipe out kids is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
instinct that I get. Like they have no reason for it. It's just this mentality of this is what I have to do. I have to kill them because
Yeah.
that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, maybe it's probably I think of it more as like you know how humans tend to naturally be like averse to rodents or like bugs and pests.
Right.
So I kind of interpreted it that way, where it's like
Yeah.
because they have lines in the movie where they're discussing how like the streets are infested and stuff like that. So I interpret it more of like just imagine if like everywhere you went there were like
Right.
cockroaches and mice everywhere. You know, that's and then we can maybe entertain how we might become a bit murderous, some of us, in that kind of environment in an attempt to cleanse it. And so maybe it's like just like taking that aspect of what is human and just exaggerating it a bit. But
Oh, I love that. That's great. Yeah, that clears it up and makes me believe in their objective so much more. So just like, why do they hate these poor kids so much? Like, who cares? Just let them be. But to see them as pests
Mhm.
and like,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
And I guess that's probably why they turn them into mice too, so that the normal human people are seeing the kids the way that the
Right.
witches see the kids.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. It's a
Yeah.
very like grade 9 literary analysis of the story. I love it.
That's what I'm here for. High school level discussion. I like Philip's question. Can we discuss our favorite part or scene that we liked in both movies if we saw them both? So if we did see them both, favorite moment, or if we didn't see them both, well, yeah, I guess favorite moment, but we don't have to compare and contrast. So Lisa, let's start with you since you did see both.
Okay, favorite. Oh gosh. Okay, favorite part of the original one, I would say like anytime Luke's rodent puppet was talking.
Yes.
I like loved it so much. It was so cute with like his little hands, his little blinky eyes. I couldn't. It was just so precious and made me like really want him to succeed. So that 100%. And I think in the new one, Octavia Spencer's like just beginning, I would say. Although I also really did like Daisy the mouse. I did like having so Daisy is Luke's mouse pet, and she starts talking when him and Bruno turns into mice. And so she becomes a character. And like in the original, his mice, Mary and William, are not characters after they turn. So it was nice to have like 3 rodents who were like trying to work together.
And Daisy was Kristen Chenoweth.
Yeah, she has a good little mice voice. But yeah, I think I would say, Octavia Spencer's just beginning of the movie, her work, and then Kristen Chenoweth as Daisy.
Yeah, I agree for the remake. I think the first chunk with Octavia Spencer, like post parent death, all of that, I really loved. Original, I have so many moments that are favorites, but I think when they're all turning into when all the witches are turning into mice, it's so satisfying. Especially when the grandmother like points out the Grand High Witch and she's like that woman. And I don't know, I love the actress's performance there, just her energy, just everything about like years of witch hunting have led to this. And then it's just so satisfying for Grand High Witch Mouse to be under the jar and then be killed by Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
Like, and I love how that scene plays out so much more in the original, because in the remake, there's a whole showdown in the Grand High Witch's hotel room, which was long and unnecessary, I felt. And then like they feed her to the pet cat. I'm like, this is so 2021. Like, this is such a modern day audience thing where we need to have a more climactic climax. I like that she is just mouseified with the rest of the witches. Like they're all getting the same thing. It's so satisfying. Jeanette, favorite part in the original?
My favorite part is, like I said before, the convention scene. I know it's a long scene. It's kind of like its whole chunk of the movie, but like just that, her monologue up there, and the appearance, everything about it. Like I said, it gave me those Rocky Horror type things. I was like, yes. All of that made me very happy. But yeah, that whole scene, her acting in that scene is like, it's beyond. It's amazing.
Yes, I love the convention. I also read that Angelica Houston, like when she was in the witch makeup, I think she was in there for like 8 hours and started to get hot and claustrophobic. And then she got to a point where she just didn't even know what she was saying. And I feel so bad for her as an actor, because I think it was similar to what Jim Carrey went through as the Grinch. Like he went through like legit PTSD because of the claustrophobia of all the stuff that was around him. But I also feel like it gave her performance this unsettling, otherworldly quality when she's in the makeup. Like just something seems so disconnected and so disorienting. And she's like, she's just so good in and out of the makeup.
The lilt of her speech, whenever she, like the pacing of her speech, everything just sounds so like potentially dangerous.
Yes. Which is you're a disgrace.
Dangerous woman.
Alex, favorite part?
I think you were saying that you had so many favorites, and I agree with that sentiment. Like there's so many individual moments and scenes that are like, I can't really pick one that stands above them all, except I will, and it's in the convention scene specifically. Once they've brought in the kid and Bruno, and as Bruno approaches Angelica Houston, she starts to, I would describe it as pant and body roll. And
yeah, what was that weird thing she was doing? Like
she was
like,
rolling her abdomen, was doing a body roll thing.
It's getting a little
a little Matilda. It brought me back to Matilda, to Miss Honey and Matilda's relationship a bit there.
No.
So,
No.
All right. I said my piece. All right.
And that was your favorite part?
That was your favorite part.
I enjoyed that part a lot. Yes, it was a pleasure.
You just like seeing Angelica Houston body roll.
Yeah. That's the truth of it. Yeah. You can take out the context, just that scene.
Bruno, just Angelica Houston.
Yeah.
You really got an eye for these scenes, Alex. Jeez.
Yeah. It's strange.
Wait, where does Miss Honey body roll?
No, don't go down that road. Don't go
Just
down.
Watch the last week's stream.
Okay, sounds good.
It's a path we don't need to go down.
I'll make an edit. I'll cut out my portions and send it to you.
Love it.
Philip says in the book they mention that they turn the kids into mice so that their parents or teachers will unknowingly kill them. All the witches will, and then the witches don't actually have to kill the children themselves. I'm an elementary school teacher. I've read the book to my class every year and they all love it. That fascinates me. It makes me happy that kids now still like Roald Dahl. But they all beg me to show the movie to them. I'm only supposed to show G movies, so I show them clips so they can compare and contrast. Yeah, like I do. I think this is such a good movie to do comparisons between with the remake and the new one. Like just first off in a study of why CGI is terrible and why practical effects will always reign supreme. I think it's also fascinating to see how a story is affected when an ending is changed versus when an ending is retained to the author's vision. And again, I don't think the remake took nearly as enough advantage of the time and the location shift that they made, but I think there's a lot to dig into there as well. Like, just such wasted potential. That's the thing that still upsets me about the remake. Well, that and the bad CGI. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there were some cute shots of the mice.
Oh, that's true.
I think what bothered me with the CGI and the remake was Anne Hathaway's stuff. Like, it was
like the Joker mouth.
I was like, why? Like, what? Take off your face. I think I would have preferred Anne Hathaway if she had taken off her face and was like a prosthetic alien. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and her weird extending hands. No.
Yeah.
Didn't like that. But still, I recommend everyone give it a watch for comparisons and contrastions. But since I know Jeanette needs to go soon, I want to play the game. Oh, Alex, you had a thing.
I just wanted to throw out, how many mice do we think were killed in the production of this film? Like, there's got to be a bunch of mice that died, right? Like, by virtue of being stepped on, chucked around. Like, you can see Rowan Atkinson like totally flinging a live mouse.
I was happier before you put that question into my mind, Alex.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Alex
I just
finds
think
the
it's
bright
relevant.
spots of everything in these movies.
Just interesting discussion points. That's all.
As an owner of 2 rodents who are not mice, but they're hamsters, who literally do look like Bruno and Luke as mice, it was very tough watching and it being like, wow, these rodents are getting killed for
There
sure.
was a shot that I swear the cut happened right before a mouse got stepped on. One of like the
100%.
Bruno rather. I swear, I was one like they cut that right before that mouse got squished.
Yeah,
did we read the credits? Did it say the no animals were harmed thing?
I didn't read the credits, but
I don't know.
I highly doubt that.
I doubt it. But I will say, even more than like the potential deaths that probably happened were the way that they were like caring for the mice, like the 2 white mice at the beginning. That cage is way too small for mice that size, and they're poor little wheels. People, if you are getting rodents for your children, you need big cages for them. And if they're rats specifically, they need to be tall because they like to climb. So please do never take these movies for like specific facts on how to care for small pets.
Especially, 1990 when apparently they were stepping on their rodent actors.
Awful.
Again, I was happier before I thought about that.
All the traps.
Oh my god!
They
All
wanted
the
to turn
traps
kids into mice. Why is it only
everywhere.
boys and not girls? Interesting.
Interesting.
Although I think that might just be circumstantial because there's only boys at the hotel when they're there. Like, I think
And all the women become mice.
I think they hate kids equally. I think they hate boys and girls equally.
I think children are all pests to them.
Yeah, like when I'm killing a spider, I don't care if it's a
care.
boy spider or a girl spider.
Yeah.
Spider. No, I've started to feel guilty about killing spiders recently. Anyway,
Really?
to the game. Yeah, I know.
Game time.
It has a family. Okay. So I forgot that we had a game until like 5 minutes beforehand, so I threw this together very quickly. So this game is called Which Witch.
Yay!
Yay! So, I mean, we've played versions of this many times before. I wanted to be more creative with my game, but I wasn't. So I'm going to name a fact, and you have to tell me if it's about Angelica Houston or Anne Hathaway.
Oh,
okay.
That's fun.
Yeah, so I also called it Angie or Annie. So,
Okay.
Cute.
yes.
I
So
love it. Okay.
I will read a fact. You tell me if it's describing Angie, Annie, or both. Feel free to play along in the comment section, too.
Okay.
Here we go. One second. Okay. Which witch performed on Broadway?
Okay.
Which witch performed on Broadway?
I'm gonna say. Wait, are we gonna wait for our answers?
Oh yeah, well I'll answer together.
Are we just answering orally?
No, write
Okay.
it down.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Huh.
Both.
Oops.
Anne. Both is the correct answer.
No.
Even though neither of them were really in like super prolific productions. Anne Hathaway's Broadway performance was like a concert that she was just in because it was by merit of her being Anne Hathaway.
Still
And Angelica Houston was in the background, not the background, but she was in the ensemble of a production of Hamlet, like in the 60s and the 70s. And she also understudied Ophelia. But I'm shocked. I'm like, you didn't go back to Broadway, Angie? Really? Okay.
Interesting.
Next, which witch played Morticia Adams?
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I'm not gonna wait.
Since we all know it.
You're right. I forgot Morgan wasn't here, so I put in some easy questions.
Aw.
We love you, Morgan.
We do. But I could just picture Morgan saying, "Matt, how am I supposed to know that?" So I threw in some easy ones. Next, which witch made a guest appearance on RuPaul's Drag Race?
Oh.
Which witch made a guest appearance on RuPaul's Drag Race?
Okay, I think I know this, but can I just say that Angelica Houston in this movie was giving very hardcore Michelle Visage vibes throughout the entire movie. Like Michelle Visage probably watched The Witches and was like, I am going to do my look after
Emulate that.
that. I'm going to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why wasn't Michelle Visage in the remake?
I know. She would have been
That would have been great.
So.
All right, let's hear answers. 3, 2, 1. Both.
No. Wait, hold on. Wait.
Anne is
Yeah.
correct.
Dang it. I knew Anne was, but then I was like second guessing myself. I'm like, Angelica had to have done it too, right?
Angelica.
You should.
Which witch appeared in the movie Material Girls? Which witch appeared in the movie Material Girls?
Okay.
When did this movie come out?
I think it came out like mid 2000s. I think it's Brittany Murphy, and she's like a nanny of a rich kid, and then they become Material Girls.
Oh.
You mean Uptown Girl?
Oh, I'm thinking of Material Girls is a different movie. I was describing Uptown Girl, wasn't I?
I was like, that's what Dakota Fanning.
I was gonna say, was it released under a different name in Canada?
No, you're right. The movie I described was Uptown Girl, but Material Girls is another movie too.
Isn't that one with the Duff sisters, like Hilary Duff and Haley Duff?
That sounds right. Yes.
Yeah.
When I was doing the research, it just showed the poster. There were a bunch of blonde girls on the poster.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's the
that.
Hilary Duff movie.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay.
I'm
3,
ready.
2, 1. Angelica, and it's Angelica.
Yeah, she plays the mom.
That's what I was said at first, but then he said Hilary Duff, and I was like, that's
No, yeah,
more
Hilary Duff.
contemporary.
Her sister. They play Angelica Houston's daughters.
Don't age yourself, Alex. Hilary Duff is not contemporary.
I know.
any longer.
I know.
I felt it too. I was like, oh yeah, she's newer. Not really.
She's coming back. She's in How I Met Your Dad or How I Met Your Father or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool.
We love Hillary. Which witch won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress?
Okay.
Which witch won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress? Okay, 3, 2, 1. Annie. The answer was both. We were looking for both.
Oh.
What? Really?
Yeah.
What did Angelica Houston win for?
Some 80s movie nobody cares about. When I say nobody, I mean me. Yeah. Well, I really only know her from The Witches and the Addams Family.
Fair.
She's been in other stuff too. Okay, next. Which witch voiced a Disney character? Which witch voiced a Disney character?
I feel like this is a trick answer. Or a trick question, I should say.
And when I say voiced, 100% not implying, it's a cartoon. So not to say was a Disney character in a live action Disney movie, which witch gave her voice to a cartoon animated Disney
yes.
character.
Okay.
In a movie? Can you
In
clarify?
multiple things. It's a character who I think was in a movie, but it was more,
Okay.
I think it was more of like a direct to video situation.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. 3, 2, 1. Angelica. You're all right. It's Angelica Houston.
Yay.
She's the fairy queen or something in the Tinkerbell franchise.
Yes, she is. I knew that. I don't remember exactly which character, but I knew she was somebody in Tinkerbell.
Queen Clarion?
Yes.
Yes. That's her. Which witch played Fantine in Les Mis?
Oh.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. You're correct. It's Anne Hathaway. There we go. Next. Which witch hosted Saturday Night Live?
Okay.
Is neither an option?
No.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Wait, Lisa, which one's your answer?
Oh, sorry.
Both. We were looking for both.
Yes.
Yes. And final question of the regular round. Which witch hosted the Oscars? Vincent gets all the points. George Carlin. 3, 2, 1. Anne Hathaway is correct.
Both Hugh Jackman, right?
No, with James Franco, it was a whole thing. It was terrible.
Oh, who hosted? I guess Hugh Jackman did it by himself.
Hugh Jackman, like when he hosted, he did a musical number with Anne Hathaway.
Right.
Yeah.
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 And then I think that's when everyone thought, oh, we love Anne Hathaway. Let's make her host the next Oscars.
But with a horrible man.
Yep. Okay, so these are your points.
Makes
And
me
as
so
per
sad.
usual, so much potential. Alex, you have 4.
Wow.
Jeanette, you have 7. Lisa, you have 8. How many
Thought I had,
points
like,
do we
2.
want to wager for the bonus round?
Toto.
Toto?
Everything.
All of it. All of it.
All of it.
Okay.
All of
This is a numerical answer.
Okay.
Closest without going over has their points doubled. Or their, yeah, I guess because you all wagered all of them. So points doubled. Here we go. Between Anne Hathaway and Angelica Houston, how many Oscar nominations are there?
Between?
Between them. So if you combine the number of times Angelica's been nominated and the number of times Anne's been nominated, how many Oscar nominations did the witches get in their careers?
Okay.
Oh, and I guess technically you shouldn't be duplicating each other's numbers because Price is Right rules. So again, Price is Right rules, like it's the Showcase Showdown, will go in order,
Okay.
randomly selected by me. Alex is first. Give us your number, please. Said 25, okay? You know this is closest without going over, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Lisa.
Jesus.
I'm going to go with 11.
Okay, 11. Jeanette,
Damn it.
8. Well, you all went over.
Oh,
Oh. Can
So
we get
you
how embarrassing
sure.
for them.
you all get yeah.
under 8?
So yeah, guess again. No one's allowed to guess 1 though, because
Okay.
that's how you screw people
Cool.
over. Price is Right. Jeanette,
Okay.
6. Okay. Lisa,
Oh.
Well, now we know who won.
I'm gonna go with 5.
5. Okay. Alex, 4. I will 6, 5, 4. Okay, one of you got it exactly.
Who?
Lisa.
Thanks, Jeanette.
How'd you? Oh, did I give it away?
She guessed
No,
six, and I was like, this is
I
fine.
had
Well-
said 8, and then I said 6, so I was like,
Oh, that's
well,
true.
it's close somewhere. It's somewhere.
Yeah, Angelica was nominated for 3, and Anne was nominated for 2
Oh,
wow.
my gosh.
thus
Okay.
far. So yes, Lisa, congratulations! You won which?
Woo!
You won which? Yay! Well done.
Alphabet
Yay,
was so proud.
Lisa! Woo! All right. Well, there we go. That's the game. That was fun. Any closing thoughts on the witches or anything that we didn't touch on that we want to talk about?
Oh, I don't think so. It was spooky and fun.
Just take care of your mice better than these kids in these movies. Like, don't
Um,
give them big cages, please. Thank you very much. My PSA is over.
I just also the final little tidbit, little trivia to look out for when you're watching the movie next time. Well, not really trivia, but just thing to notice is the amount of blood on Rowan Atkinson's butcher knife. It's not like fully saturated, but it's lined with blood all the way through, and it's just a bloodbath.
What
This
kind of
movie is-
things do you notice when watching a movie for the first time, Alex? That's my question.
Just the stuff that sticks out,
Okay.
All right. Well, with that, everyone, one at a time, you're going to go full screen. Tell all our nice people watching, once again, who you are. Tell us where we can find you if you want us following you on anything, and let us know about exciting projects that you have coming up. We'll start with Jeanette, because I know you have to jump to another podcast in mere moments.
Yeah, I'll tell you where you can find me. You can find me on We Like Theme Parks here in just a few minutes. So, and every Tuesday evening, you can find me on We Like Theme Parks, and you can find me on my Instagram at TinkerJ787. And it's got my Disney stuff there. It's got where you can find me here on Teacup and all the other fun people that I Disney it up with.
Brilliant. Have a great show tonight, Jeanette. I'll see you shortly, because I'm going to
Yeah.
join you.
Yeah.
Teacup party. Lisa.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Alves. I'm a theater producer in Toronto, Canada. And you can follow me and my hamsters, Eleanor Waffles and Theodora Umbrella, on Instagram. If you look me up at Lisa_A_Alves, you'll see them and you'll see me up to all of my shenanigans.
Brilliant. And what wonderful shenanigans they are. Thank you, Lisa. Always a pleasure.
Hi,
Alex.
I'm Alex Titi. I am a Canadian theater actor, and you can find me, maybe, if you're lucky, if you check out some local production, local to Niagara Falls, Toronto, somewhere in between there, is where you'll most likely have a chance to catch a glimpse.
Brilliant. Thank you, Alex. Always a pleasure. And if you're watching this, this is my channel. Subscribe. Please do. Oh, yes. Very good question. Yoda for Mark. Next week, I think it's Fantastic Mr. Fox. I'm almost positive. Let's say it's the Fox movie. Yeah, next week, 99% sure. Fantastic Mr. Fox. And if it's not, I'll message you. But assume that if I don't message you, Yoda for Mark, and everyone else watching, we're watching the Wes Anderson stop motion, assuming masterpiece, Fantastic Mr. Fox. This is the only movie that I have never seen in this marathon. Oh, actually, I haven't seen the BFG all the way through. We'll discuss that when we get to it. Anyway, friends, thank you so much for joining us for this evening. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all the fun things. And also jump onto the Disney Nerdy Network for tonight's live episode of the We Like Theme Parks podcast, because I'm going to be the special guest. It's going to be so much fun. So once again, friends, thank you so much. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees, and this has been the Tea Cup for One. How do I end this?